Everybody, Megaro 31 back for FSI DFS. Going to be breaking down the late slate for MLB tonight. If you're looking for early information, McKinley did an awesome job on his video, and if you check out our channel, you can find that there. But we're going to be looking at the 5-game night slate. It's good to have baseball back. These nice little small slates have been cool, but pretty soon we'll probably have like a full many 15 game, 14 game, 13 game slates going on. So let's just enjoy these small ones while we can, so you don't get like sensory overload trying to pick who you want to play. So only weather concern is again in New York and Washington. Looks like rain before the game potentially, but I think they're fine to get in. Really not concerned there. Everybody else looks good. Again, to be warm in California. Again, a little bit cooler. It's in the 70s, where it was like in the 90s earlier when they first started for the first couple of games. So pitching choices, if you look at the screen here, I think you're going to have to pick between Musgrove and Verlander. I think they're going to be the most popular choices. Verlander is a little bit more of a difficult matchup against the Angels. He's coming back from an injury, missing a lot of last season. But the thing is he had 4 spring training starts. He had a 1.32 ERA. He had strikeouts and he looked good. So I think that I don't see him going like maybe 7 or 8 innings, but I think, he at least can make it through 5 and get the win. And then Musgrove on the other hand against Arizona, he was very solid last year. He was decent in spring training. He had 3 starts, gave up some runs, but he did have some strikeouts. And then again, it was spring training, so I can't read too much into it because sometimes it's rust and sometimes they're experimenting with different things because these games don't really count. So hopefully he has it dialed in and is ready to go. Arizona is probably going to be one of the weakest hitting teams all year long against right-handed pitching. So there's definitely some K upside here. And I think one of these 2 pitchers is where you want to start your lineups today. Looking in the median range, Chris Bassett against Washington. I'm not really scared of Washington this year. I think I'll target them with pitchers a lot. Cesar Hernandez leading off is not like super strong there. Still have Soto in the lineup. Really not much protection behind him like there has been in years past. They brought in Nelson Cruz, but he was abysmal in spring training. Josh Bell is decent, but then the bottom of this lineup, there's really Victor Robles has speed, but other than that, nothing really scares me here. So obviously some K upside, some win potential here, and I think that's somebody that you can consider in the mid-range at 8K. It's a little bit of a discount down. Like we're not talking, it's nice that DK hasn't had these guys priced up super high yet because they understand that most of these guys aren't stretched out. It's their first starts and we don't know how long they're going to go. So thank you for that. Syndergaard actually comes in as the second highest pitcher on DK. I believe he is he's actually third. Because Musgrove's second at 8.6, and I think he's quite interesting because he had a really strong spring. 1.4 ERA. He had 2 starts. His strikeouts were there. On a new team now. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Looking good. Houston. I know it's always a risky matchup. They don't strike out much, so that's why I think he's probably more of a GPP play, but he could be somebody sneaky. Maybe Houston has an off night. Maybe he's returns to some of his dominant form we've seen in years past. So I think, I may play him in a couple of GPP lineups just to kick the tires and see what we got. As for cheap pitchers, I really like Chris Wright against Cincinnati. Cincinnati has really, most of their roster went to Seattle. So now like India leading off, Naquin, Pham, righty on righty matchup. Joey Votto has a high strikeout rate, even though it's the lefty righty matchup. So there are strikeouts. I think Cincinnati had the 10th most strikeouts last year percentage on the road against right-handed pitching. So, Kyle Wright, I think is going to, he did not give up any runs in 2 games in spring training. He went almost 4 innings in both. He has 7.1 innings between the 2 starts. So, I think he's pretty ready. His strikeouts, he had 8, so it was almost like more than like one 1 per inning. So I think that's decent. I'm not going to be a high K guy, but I think Cincinnati could help that. So I definitely think he's going to be my SP2. The other cheap guy is you have a 4K guy here, and you always have to look at that. It doesn't say Adon's going to be an opener. Maybe that news will break. I did look. He only had 1 spring training start. He went. He had a 7 ERA. He went. Actually, he had 3 starts. So he went 3 innings in each. So I wouldn't expect him to go super deep in the game, but for 4K, he had 10 strikeouts in 9 innings. So that's about the same as Chris Wright. The Mets have a good lineup this year, if they can stay healthy. But the thing is with the weather here, it's going to be 52 degrees. It's going to be wet. It's still, I think it favors the pitching. I don't think he's an all-star, but for 4K, if you're trying to get in Coors Field for the bats, I think, that's somebody that if you want to get like a full Dodger stack or Houston stack or some of these stacks here that potentially in a GPP, you can play as your SP to it as a punt, as long as you take a solid SP1 like Musgrove or Verlander. I think you're going to be good there. Fading Marquez, like he's a good pitcher, but Dodgers and Coors. I mean, I did see Gomber actually shut the Dodgers down at Coors Field early in the season last year, but that game was snowing. This game is going to be in the 50s, so it's not going to be super, super cold there. Gosselin never goes very deep. And again, this Colorado lineup isn't spectacular, but I still don't see a lot of promise with him. Zach Davies, I'm out on him. Really no K upside there. And I think San Diego has a good matchup against him. And Gutierrez was very, very bad in spring training. So that's why I really like the Braves stay. So looking at stacks, I think you got to look at the Dodgers and Coors Field. Even though Marquez is a good pitcher, I think that they have the highest implied run total there. Wind blowing out at 13 miles per hour. So I think Dodgers are going to be a favorite stack. Second, Atlanta. Like I said, Gutierrez was not good in spring training. He had an 8.68 ERA, 4 starts, gave up 3 home runs, 9 earned runs, very, very low on strikeouts. So not somebody that really fear. This Atlanta offense, I think, is going to be decent this year, and especially when they get their Acuna back, that's really going to help them also. And they made some really good moves last year too, to kind of cover him, and some of those players have stuck around. So I think Atlanta's going to be a team to look at, and they've got a 5.62 run total. San Diego has a 5.02 run total against Zach Davies. Like I said, I don't really fear him out there. I think they got some good lefties here, and even Machado and Voit against him. I think Voit, his price has crept up a little bit, but I think that's definitely a reasonable stack. And Houston went off last night too. There's a lot of left-handers that I love in this lineup here. And even some of the younger guys that you can mix in that are cheaper in this lineup too, to kind of round things out work. Colorado is a GPP. Like I said, Gosselin's a decent pitcher. Dodgers have a good bullpen. Really, Chris Bryant there, righty and righty. I don't really love that. There's not really many lefties projected in this lineup, just Blackman, and he was inconsistent last year. Maybe he turns around this year, but I'm not going to, try him in cash. And McMahon, I think, is probably the only piece really here that I think would be, if you want to take a one-off with a Dodger stack, that I'd consider. But the problem is he's at third base, and you already have Muncy and Turner at third base. So, I mean, that's kind of a problem there. Mets, again, against Adon. Don't know too much about him or the Washington bullpen. So I think, they have a 5.19 total. Reason that they're GPP and the second GPP is just, like I said, the weather there is not really conducive for hitting. A cheap stack, Cincinnati, I think you can look at. I know I said I like Kyle Wright as a pitcher, but Cincinnati, I think in a GPP, if you want to try, could get hot at sometimes. For leverage, if a lot of people are going to be playing Musgrove, then I kind of am going to be playing Arizona and GPPs this year. They're very cheap. I think Beer has some power. He hit a home run first game out for sure. I really like as a catcher slash outfielder leading off there. Peralta, Marte, Walker, they're not horrible pitchers. I've even seen stuff out of Havin Smith. I think they could be sneaky at times this year. So again, in GPPs, I think they're a good cheap stack. The Angels too, if we don't think Verlander's completely back and maybe spring training he looked good, but maybe in the regular season, the Angels are just so expensive and hard to stack just the way their positioning is. Because like you take Ohtani and Trout and Rendon, and you're talking like almost two 6K guys there and a 4K guy. That's a huge chunk of salary. Throw in Walsh, and then there's really nobody else, maybe Brandon Marsh, that I'd like to throw in for the fifth man. I just find it very hard to stack with other teams, just with the positions that their stars are overlap with a lot of other ones. And then I think Washington would be the final leverage stack. Just they're just kind of there. They'd probably be like the last resort today. So I think, one of the popular features that we had last year was kind of showing you how to build your lineup and giving you some suggestions. So you want to get a Dodgers stack. You want to play Verlander. So here's kind of a starter for you to look at. So if you take Verlander and Wright, and then punt catcher, the lowest one projected to play is Maldonado at 2.6, but maybe you can go up from there. But I really like Freeman at first base lefty and Muncy at third base lefty match up against the righty. Lux batting down at the bottom of the lineup is kind of a wraparound, is very cheap. And then I'm going to go Turner and Betts, and that's Trey Turner at shortstop. That leaves you 3,600 for players for two outfielders. There are a lot of great outfield options at 3,600. If you punt and go down at 2,600 for the catcher here, it gives you even more for outfielder, and you can really round out your lineup really nice. And Verlander, or you can play Musgrove, gives you $200 more there. And Wright, I really like that. I think that's a great place to start out in cash. If you want to take the Atlanta Braves, then I think this is what you want to do. You must go over Verlander. I take Wright again. Again, Maldonado is 2.6. I like the Braves stack, but I don't know if I like a full stack. I like Olsen, Abies, and Riley. That's where I'm going there. Rosario, I know a lot of people like him. I know he's leading off. He's got the split matchup. He wasn't great in spring training. I think he was a little bit cold last year. Maybe he's going to put it together. Your choice. Dickerson also cheap on the team. He's batting a little bit away from the stack, maybe about 2. So I don't know if that's completely ideal, but he is lefty and he is cheap. I'm going to fill this out with Houston. Houston's shortstop. If I can get up to Diaz, if he's in, I like that. If not, Pena was good last night also, and he's reasonable at 2.3. So I'm definitely going to go Houston shortstop. And then outfielders, I'm going to pick between Brantley, Alvarez, and Tucker. They're all lefties against Syndergaard, who's a righty, got the split matchup. And that's how I'm going to round out that lineup. So those are the two options for cash. For GPP, we already discussed. So thanks for watching this video. Looking forward to be back. Seeing, we'll crank out videos as much as our schedules allow us to this season. So we appreciate you watching. And if, we don't have a video, you can always reach out to me at Twitter at MegaRover31 and ask some questions about the slate. That's what we're here for. Or come check out the information in our bio here in the comments or below the description of this video. I'll give you the link to our FSI Discord and our FSI site, where we've got very reasonable Major League Baseball package that you can sign up for and get our Discord, and you get this core sheet every single major slate. So we're doing the early slate today. We're doing the evening slate. We cover all the showdowns. We do the tiers, and you've got coaches there, McKinley and I, to help you out, answer questions, and help you build your lineup and make money and be successful in this. So thanks again for watching. I'm MegaRuler31. I'll see you next time.